I read 4 of the most anticipated Romantasy book releases of the year, at least in my opinion, because it definitely depends on who you ask. And I'm gonna let you know which ones I feel like are worth it, and some pros and cons, a synopsis, and all that good stuff. So let's jump right on in. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And if it's not, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chrissy, and this is my Cozy Corner. Also, one of these books up here, I rated 5 stars. Actually, I think it's a 6-star read. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite book of the year. My favorite books of the year were Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang and The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, and I'm pretty sure this book knocked them off the top. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to insert the book right here with some tropes surrounding it so you know what to expect going into it, because if there's a trope up here that you don't necessarily like, then you might be like, oh, okay, I want to skip that one. So we're going to start with Direbound by Sable Sorenson. Now, this one is got trials. It has bonded sentient beings, which is very Fourth Wing coded in my opinion, but it's very different from Fourth Wing. We have forced proximity, tension. It is a romantasy, and you can expect also a slow burn. Direbound is the first book in the Wolves of Ruin series. The second book comes out sometime next year. There was a cover change. I read this one on Kindle Unlimited, and then I let my best friend borrow my paperback. So with this one, it's marketed as a dark romantasy. There is, I believe, triggers in there. Definitely check trigger warnings. I wasn't personally triggered by much in it, but still check them. This book is set in the realm of Nocturna, and our main character's name is Marin, and she is known to be one of the common people of the capital. It's in the poorer part of the capital, and she lives with her ill mother and her little sister. When her little sister is taken in the middle of the night by these things they call nabbers, she's making it her mission to obviously save her sister. Marin ends up enlisting in the king's army because she believes her sister, the nabbers, had taken her sister to the front, and she thinks the only way that she can get her sister back is enlisting in this army, but instead she gets thrust into something called bonding trials. So what happens at the end of this? If you are successful, there is a bond forged between soldiers and direwolves. I found this book to be extremely addicting, from the bonded sentient beings. And I don't want to say think like Fourth Wing, because I feel like the dragons are kind of not quirky, but kind of mouthy and funny. The wolf that you get the perspective of it's quite different, but the bonding trials, the sentient beings, the battle with her trust between who is on my side, who's not on my side, who can I trust in this situation, to the setting, I kept thinking of Winterfell in Game of Thrones. That's what I kept picturing, because you're in this snowy setting, and I was just absolutely hooked. I could not stop turning the page. The pacing is pretty good for the majority of the book, and the balance of world building and romance I thought was pretty decent. I will say the book's writing and pacing was better in the first 2/3 of the book. I think the last third, it was kind of speeding up, and the writing got a little juvenile at times, but I didn't mind it too much. For once, a romantasy that is marketed as a slow burn was actually a slow burn. Half the time, I don't believe people anymore when they say, oh my goodness, it's an enemies to lovers, it's a slow burn. This was one. This was, for once, marketed correctly as a slow burn, and continues to be a slow burn. I'm a slow burn girl. If they don't even touch, kiss, nothing by the end of the first book, I'm good with that, because it's a trilogy, all right? We want to keep it fresh and interesting. Obviously, I eventually want them to come together, but I just love a good, slow burn. Slow. I also feel like the book was so predictable. That is one of the big flaws I think this book suffers from. There was no point where my jaw was on the ground. To me, there weren't plot twists. I was like, oh yeah, duh, that makes sense, or that was predictable. It was very predictable, but the world was so interesting. It was such a fun read that for once I didn't mind. Normally I would knock it down to a 3-star or something because it was too predictable, but because I had so much fun, it was fine. This is one I don't think you should skip. I think it is worth the read. I think going into the second book, it's gonna get even better. I gave this book a 4.25 stars, and a 3 chili pepper rating. I know you're like, but you just said it was a slow burn. Well, you're gonna have to wait and see about that. That is the chili pepper rating, but it is still a slow burn. That's all I can say. It's really good. I really liked it. I had so much fun. I recommend it. The next book I want to talk about today is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. We have, obviously it's a romantasy. We have a moderate burn, not slow, but I would say moderate to slow, probably more moderate. Then we have a relatable FMC, which I love that for us because it's rare that you see that in a fantasy or romantasy. We have an arranged marriage, a cursed realm, a forced proximity, and tension. We also have some pretty freaking cool monsters. Our female main character, Princess Odessa of Quintus, was never meant to marry the Prince of Tura. So these are obviously two separate territories. Her little sister May was always meant to be the Shield of Sparrow, which is basically an alliance between the two territories to pretty much keep the kingdom intact, the kingdom of Calandra, this continent. So Odessa's little sister May was prepped and tasked to be the Shield of Sparrow, to pretty much like infiltrate their territory, be the bride, like very much giving Bridge Kingdom vibes here. But Prince Xavier has somebody with him known as the Guardian, and they both kind of give each other a look and they decide, nope, we want Odessa. So they're all like, wait, what? So Odessa ends up being very much unprepared to be thrust into a world of monsters, magic, and lots of intrigue. This book was very refreshing. Like, it was different. Like, there were vibes from other books, but it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, I felt like I've read this before. I've never felt like I've read something like this before. It was so different. Now, we have a lot of cool like areas that they travel to. One of my favorite places, it's like Trial, and it reminded me of the huts in Yavin 4 in Andor. It's like these treehouse huts, and I'm literally picturing, her descriptions were so great, Devney Perry. I'm picturing everything so perfectly because of how well she does with these descriptions. Because of Devney Perry's knack for being able to describe things in such a way, I was able to picture everything just so vividly. I feel like I didn't have a lot of questions about how things looked because she was really good at that. There was at one point a voyage like across waters, and you know, a lot of the times when you're reading a book and they're getting on a ship and they're going to like a different area or territory, it's like kind of a quick voyage, right? This was like days or chapters of how it felt on the ship, what they were doing on the ship, what they were eating on the ship. It was so good. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is like, I love that she went into detail about it. I also really loved Odessa, and I feel like there's some people that don't love her as much because they say, oh, she asks too many questions, she's kind of annoying. Kind of like Poppy, if you've ever read From Blood and Ash. She asks a lot of questions, but hers kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. I feel like Odessa's were purposeful in the moment. Like, you know, I might have asked that question when things were happening. Like, I felt like it was done much better. I love From Blood and Ash, but I do feel like it was done better in Shield of Sparrows, the way they were world building around questions. And they weren't just world building around questions. She wasn't just world building around questions. There was more to it than that. I felt like Odessa was very relatable. I love that she wasn't this all-powerful, strong person. Like, say, you know, Feyre in A Court of Thorns and Roses was like the huntress. She had her bow and arrow. Like, I mean, Odessa wouldn't even know what to do with a sword or a bow and arrow. Like, she was so relatable, and I really appreciated that. I know there were people who also complained about it being really slow in the middle, and I felt the opposite. Like, I felt like there was at no point that I didn't want to pick up the book. Anytime I picked up the book, I was excited to pick up the book. I thought there was lots of world building, but I love to read world building, so I don't know if a lot of people found the way that she was doing the world building boring. I found it very intriguing, so I really liked it. I do feel like I was getting vibes of the Bridge Kingdom and From Blood and Ash, but they were like small vibes. There wasn't anything that made me feel like it was too much like either one of those books. I will say, if you are a seasoned romantasy or fantasy reader, this is going to be a very predictable read for you. I think one of the big plot twists, I think it's supposed to be one of the big plot twists, I predicted in like, I don't know, the very early chapters, like talking single digits here, early chapters. But there was something where I was scratching my head and confused and did not see coming. So it wasn't all predictable. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I thought that the monsters were super different that I've seen in any other fantasy or romantasy book. The magic was different. I have a lot of questions still, but of course it's the first book in a series, so that's so understandable. I do think there were times where she over-explained things sometimes, which I feel like didn't bother me too much, but I feel like when we went back to it, she explained it again. I'm like, all right, well, a lot of people who are reading this have read books before, and we wouldn't need that reminder again of it. But I think, again, this is her first dip into the romantasy world, Devney Perry, so it can only get better from here because it's a really solid first book. Honestly, it's more than solid. Like, it was a great first book in a series. I really enjoyed myself reading this. I think I gave it a 4.25 to a 4.5. I'm settling on 4.25 stars. And I say that because I don't know what it was. There was something stopping me from giving it a 5-star, and maybe it's not even quite a 4.5. I don't know what it is because I loved everything about it besides the like small little things that I told you about, but that doesn't always stop me from giving a book 5 stars. But I am very excited about book 2. I really look forward to it. For a chili pepper rating, I think it might be like 1.5 to 2 chili peppers. I'm still working out my like chili pepper rating scale here, but I think that that is a fair spice rating there. I did end up reading this on my Kindle, but I did have to go out and get this beautiful copy. Actually, no, I got this on Amazon. I didn't go out anywhere and get it. And I don't know if they still sell this version, but I'm really happy that I snagged her up. The next book that we're going to talk about today is going to be Silver Elite by Dani Francis, and here are our tropes. So we have a rebellious FMC. We have an irritated to lovers. It's marketed as enemies to lovers, but they didn't really feel like enemies. It is insta-lust in my opinion. We also have like a forbidden love aspect, and it is marketed as dystopian, but in my opinion it felt more military, but I think the dystopian will come. In Silver Elite, we have a society that is divided into 2 groups due to a biotoxin coming and killing off most of the population and affecting or creating 2 different groups of people. We have the primes who are immune to this biotoxin, and then we have the mods, or the modified, who actually gained psychic powers as a result of being exposed to this biotoxin. Our main character is Ren Darlington, and she's been hiding the fact that she is modified. Without saying too much, she is forced into joining this military training program where the purpose is for the trainees to become a part of this Silver Elite ran by the primes, which, like I said, there's 2 different groups of people, the primes and the modified. So she is obviously on the other side of the conflict and they don't know it. So she is infiltrating the primes and kind of aiding in this uprising. Before seeing any marketing about this book, I did see a TikTok creator rave about it. So of course I bought it because I do trust the creator's recommendations and still trust the creator's recommendations. But then I saw the marketing and I was excited reading it, and then I saw it was like Katniss for adults, which I don't know, call me crazy, let me know if I'm overreacting, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I feel like if the content in the Hunger Games is not adult with the politics and everything that goes on, then I don't know what is. Like, I really don't think the amount of spice in a book can categorize whether a book is adult, especially a dystopian book, because like I feel like you're missing the point if that's the reason that this is an adult dystopian. Now, I put those thoughts aside because I did not want that to skew my judgment of the plot of the book and the quality of the book. So I did put that aside. I will say the world building and the politics in it are severely lacking for what should be a dystopian book. It felt more like a military romance with a dystopian backdrop, but it is the first book in a series. So I'm sure, or hopefully, we're going to get more of the dystopian conflicts. We do get it a little bit. I just didn't see it as much as I wanted to. I felt like there was a lot of like lusting after the, main male character in the book. There was just a lot of lusty, very insta-lust, very much not a slow burn or moderate burn. It is a very quick burn, in my opinion. There's no burn. All right, so we have another case where the book is quite predictable. I didn't mind the predictability and the insta-lust as much as I normally do. Again, I don't know what it is. I just maybe was having a good time, okay? It was a page turner. Let's say that. It was not perfect. There were a lot of flaws in my opinion, but it was a page turner. I had fun with it. I would say this one and Direbound are very predictable, but Shield of Sparrows, I think that there are things that aren't and things that are. So not everything up here is predictable. But I gave this one a 3.5 stars, and I think a 2 chili pepper on the chili pepper rating. Do I think Silver Elite is worth the read? I do. I would say, like my best friend asked me, if I'm gonna read a couple Romantasy books this year, which ones would you pick? I wouldn't pick that one, I guess. I would say, like, maybe if you had to pick a few out of this lineup here, this would be the one to skip, in my opinion. So, moving on to the next one. Let me just add one more time. I did have fun with this. I will be reading the second book, okay? So it's not, 3.5 is not bad for me, okay? 3 is meh. 3.5 is like, oh, that's fun, but there's lots of flaws. So 3.5 is still pretty good for me. I know I promised you guys a 6-star read, and don't think I forgot, because that is the book in question next. I actually got a early ARC audiobook of Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. There's a lot of tropes that I loved in this, so I had just like jotted them down real quick, and I'm going to list them off to you. It's a dark romantasy. Okay, so there are themes that may be triggering, so look up trigger warnings. It is an enemies to lovers, in my opinion. I'm really picky about that word. Silver Elite, irritated to lovers. Fourth Wing, irritated to lovers. Yes, they were on opposing sides of a political conflict at some point, but they were like flirting, okay? It was never like a hateful feeling, in my opinion. I wouldn't say this is as enemies as, say, like The Cruel Prince, but to me there is a reason why it would be labeled enemies to lovers. Are you ready for it? It is a slow burn, like, ooh, but I love it. It's Dramini. So Harry Potter fans, if you are into like any Dramini fan fiction, I'm gonna be real with you, I've never read one before, but I rooted for them when I read the Harry Potter books and watched the movies. So I don't know why I've never read Dramini fan fiction. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure now I'm going to, and I'm gonna be obsessed with it. It was originally The Auction, I believe, by Julie Soto, but she was, and I'll put what her username was on the fanfiction website up here, but she rewrote it and had to change obviously some things because of copyright with Harry Potter to publish this, like, for real, okay? I would say it's like The Handmaid's Tale meets like Harry Potter romance, Dramini, or something like that. It's rival kingdoms, which I love, forced proximity, mutual pining, and touch her, and yeah. This is, look, this is the one. This is the book of the year. Let me get into a synopsis for you. For Rose in Chains, please make sure you check your trigger warnings, because Soto does not gloss over topics such as essay, enslavement, and abuse. We have 2 different types of magic. We have heart magic and we have mind magic. We also have 2 different types of people. We have the Bomard, the Bomardi people, and we have the Ever Sons. So Bryony is our main character, and she is the sister to the King of Evermore. His name is Rory, and he ends up being murdered in a battle against Bomard. The Bomardi people, they come in and they kidnap these high-ranking Ever Sons because of their magic. They want their magical like properties, and they take them and they auction them off to the Bomardi elite, and they end up using them as conduits of power. I've said this in every single one of my reviews on every single one of my social medias about Rose in Chains. This author literally is taking the road less traveled. And what I mean by that is that we have so many, this big surge of Romantasy releases, new Romantasy releases. We have authors dipping their toes into Romantasy for the first time. A lot of it feels very like much by a formula, predictable. We have all these same elements. They're trying to be like Fourth Wing, and it's been quite tiresome. While I still enjoy the read, I am looking for something fresh, different, original, and Julie Soto delivers that. While the world building does feel underdeveloped at times, I could not bring myself to lower the rating. I was obsessed with this book. Now, for world building, it's very much a romantasy, heavy on the romance, but the plot is so good. The world building is threaded seamlessly throughout. It's kind of like given to you at a chunk in the beginning where you get a little overwhelmed because you get this influx of characters and action and all this stuff that's happening in the beginning, and you don't have enough like foundation for like what to understand the world. But as it goes, you kind of get little threads of the world building throughout, which I appreciated, but I wanted more, even more world building. I wanted to understand the world a little bit more because I had more questions than answers, but of course that's usually the case when it's the first book in a trilogy or in a series. But the book was absolutely fantastic. It was phenomenal. It was like, to me, it was still phenomenal. The writing was great as well. The majority of the action does happen at the beginning because a lot or a big chunk of the book is spent on exploring the dark themes of this world, and the romance was, for me, immaculate because the yearning and the slow burn were exactly what I've been looking for years. The author succeeds in immersing the reader in this story in more ways than I can list. Like, for example, one of the ways is this past to present timeline that she uses, which is one of my favorite formats. She is able to connect the past and the present chapters so flawlessly, in my opinion. We know this is inspired by Hermione, but sprinkle in like a little bit of Bridgerton vernacular and Handmaid's Tale politics. And if you want like the hardcore yearning and slow burn that's just so delicious, this is going to be the most intriguing read, the best read of the year for you. Like, I say this like so confidently. I know, of course, we all have different opinions, but I am obsessed with it. I gave it 5 stars. It's a 6-star read for me. 1 chili pepper. And I did listen to this on audio, so when my hard copy comes in the mail, I am going to reread it, because you know that an audio narration can make or break the way you feel about a book. And I actually rated the audio narration 4 stars, so I'm not rating this higher because I listened to it on audio. I think it would be, I said it was a 6-star read, but maybe I would feel differently about the world building had I read it or something. I don't know. I thought the audio was good, okay? But the book itself, the plot, like, is amazing in my opinion. So the narrator did a really good job differentiating tone. I thought like she did a really great job with that, and the female voice, she actually did sound like Hermione in my opinion. But the male voices were decent. Now, you know, Malfoy comes off haughty at times, and Tovin, she did the voice where he would come off haughty at times, and that is how I pictured him. But again, you know, the male voices were okay, but read the book. It is fabulous. It's my favorite book of the year. I went out and I bought, sitting over here on my TBR cart, every single Julie Soto book right after I finished reading Rose and Chains. Like, because I think it was her first romantasy book, but she had already previously written the fan fiction. But she wrote I think this year, last year, a young adult thriller book, The Thrashers. And a lot of you probably already know her 2 romance books. So this one is Forget Me Not. I believe it's Second Chance. And then Not Another Love Song. I think they're just musical rivals in like the same department. That's the feel I'm getting from that. So anyway, I do hope that my reviews were helpful for you. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about any of these books. If you read them, are you excited about any of the books up here? Do you disagree? Let's make this a mini book club, guys. So until next time, I do post videos on Sundays. I hope to see you then for more bookish conversations. Bye, guys.